Hello and welcome to the Switch for Good podcast. I'm Alexandra Paul and I'm here with my co-host Dotsie Vaush. Hi, Dotsie.
Good morning. Right? It's still morning where we are right now.
We are, and maybe where people are listening to us. I got your email and watched the video that you sent, and I, of course, you got my email back that I wrote back about how great it was.
Yes.
So tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay. Well, for anybody that listens to this podcast even once, they are aware that dairy is not a health food. Shocking, right? We have gone over that multiple times and all of the reasons with all of our doctors and dietitians that have been on the show. So we think at Switch for Good that it is time that our national dietary guidelines reflect that truth. So we launched a campaign yesterday that calls for public commentary for people to write in to the commentary section of the Dietary Guidelines for America, otherwise known as USDA, to request that dairy be removed. So we've made it super, super simple for people. All they have to do is go to switchforgood.org, right? And a pop-up is going to come up within 3 seconds of being there. And you can watch that video if you want. It's a bunch of athletes asking the dietary guidelines to please remove dairy as a food group. Well, it's not the video that you saw.
Oh.
I'll get there.
I get a special video?
You got a special one because you're on our email list. So join the email list if you want the special videos. But right on that pop-up, there's a place to click in. It will take you over to the commentary section. We have pre-written letter, which you could just put in your name and address and press submit, and that'll go. Or you can write your own heartfelt letter if you want. Mm-hmm. You know, we wanted to give people options.
Or even you don't have to write a lot if you write it in your own words. You
Absolutely
can just write
not.
a couple sentences. Please take dairy out of the dietary guidelines. It's unhealthy.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's
and
fine,
it's
they just count it. They like those. Actually, they like the letters that are not pre-written also.
Definitely. So get creative, people, if you want, but it can be shortened to the point.
Yeah.
And this is critical right now because they are closing this public commentary section May 1st. So we just have a couple months to completely flood it. Right now, it only has about 40,000 comments. Our goal is to get 100,000 comments that are just about removing dairy. So there's a little over 200,000 of you listening. So can you imagine if every single person out there that's listening right now could just go to switchforgood.org, click on that and submit? It's going to take you, I think I would say it's going to be a 3 minutes if that, right?
Yeah.
It's quite quick, but it's your chance to speak up. And we know that precedence has been set by our neighbors to the north. They removed dairy as a food group for humans, the Canadians, last year. They made the decision in 2018 and it came out like mid last year, 2019, that announcement. And so the U.S. has the opportunity to follow suit, and we have to speak up as citizens of America.
Good, Dotsie. Thank you so much. So everybody, and let us know if you write a letter. Write to us and let us know too, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. So
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the trailblazing guests that we have on today because I am particularly excited. So if you basically ask anyone in the greater Orange County area for a great plant-based restaurant and recommendation, they will always point to Seabirds Kitchen. For the locals, it's definitely one of the go-tos. And for out-of-towners, it is a destination people feel like they have to hit, which they should. My husband and I spend once a week there, at least.
Nice.
So
if you want a Dotsie sighting, now you know where to go.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's just super important. So it is just the most delectable, delicious plant-based food. They have something for everyone. They have a little bit of junk food, but they have some incredible bowls that are crazy healthy. My favorite is the bibimbap bowl because no one does jackfruit like Seabirds Kitchen. So today we have on the chef, the founder, the owner of the business, Stephanie Morgan. You took this from a single food truck in 2010 to 3 brick and mortar locations by the end of 2019. And you are opening up a 4th in Los Feliz that's under construction. I think one of the most exciting things is the 3rd location just opened up a few months ago in South Coast Plaza, which is the highest grossing mall in America and one of the very first all vegan, kind of higher end all vegan plant-based restaurants in a mall in America. And your business partner, Bill, told me the story of the mall kind of basically kicking out Pacific Way to bring in Seabirds. And he said when you guys first sat down at the table and had the conversation, you guys were like, haha, that's cute. We cannot afford rent here at South Coast Plaza in this massive, it's a big space that you guys have. And they said, no, we're partners with you. We want this to happen. That means something. I mean, that's a big deal. So I see you as an inventor. You're a trailblazer. You're a renegade. I think you're an unsung hero in this movement. And we are crazy excited to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. That's so nice of you to say. I really appreciate that.
By the way, Pacific Way is spelled W-H-E-Y, so it's a dairy derivative that you kicked out. I thought that was just so perfect. I didn't realize that the mall just wanted them out and the plant-based restaurant in. That's so great. So Stephanie, tell us a little bit about, we're going to get to your restaurant empire, but talk to us a little bit about your journey. So you say that you became plant-based because you read a box of Wheat Thins. Tell us that.
That's kind of the shortened version. Yeah. So basically I was living in New York City and I started to get really curious about the foods that I was eating, reading labels a lot, and noticed a lot of ingredients. I had no idea what they were. As I think a lot of people, now that's a super popular thing to do. This was like 12 years ago or so. And wanted to learn about it, really. So I went down to Borders, walked, down to 84th Street to Borders Books, bought 10 books on food and nutrition and food politics and even politics of supermarkets. And what I learned, I just got pretty upset about, honestly. I was not happy with, it felt like a big secret, how the animal industry was and how the dairy industry was, and then just how bad they were for you, especially dairy. So I just didn't want to be a part of it. And I got, like I said, angry. So I didn't eat that way the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and I started to feel great. And because of that, I had turned vegan overnight, but the world around me hadn't.
Shocking.
I know. How rude. So I was going, I didn't know what to do. I was going to Subway and getting the Veggie Delights, and they're not too satisfying. Sorry, Subway. So I started cooking for myself. I had never cooked before, really. I mean, my mom and my sister always took care of all the cooking at holidays. My mom's a great cook. I was always in sports, so I was always on the go, not learning how to cook. But this forced me to learn, and I loved it. I would go to the farmer's market and just pick out all the beautiful produce and what can I do with this, and how can I make what my mom used to make for me vegan. And I messed up a lot. I learned a lot while doing that. But yeah, so that started my journey of just falling in love with cooking and wanting to make that a career.
Because you were in the financial world.
I was, yeah. I was working for a boutique investment firm down by Wall Street, and had my Series 7 and my 63, and was going to be a broker or work on the bond desk.
I don't know what Series 7 or 63 is, Stassi.
Well, basically so you could buy and sell, stocks and bonds and stuff. So I was trying to figure out how I could pair that life with my new passion, which was health and diet and food and veganism, and it just wasn't clicking really. So I ended up quitting. I loved the job, but I just, had this passion. So I ended up quitting and asking my boss at the time, or telling him my plan that I wanted to start a vegan food truck out back in Orange County, back home. And, he kind of just said, well, if you need any funding for that, let us know. There's some people here that, would believe in you. And that was huge to me, because it was, yes. I didn't know how I was going to get the money, and I didn't have money saved up. I spent all my money just to move to New York, so anyways, that was a big thing. So I went back home. I moved in with my dad. I think I'm 23 at this point, and spent every day at the coffee shop drawing up a business plan. And it was 50 pages. Everything was figured out and detailed. I did surveys over at Fashion Island, how much money do you spend on lunch, and wow. What kind of foods do you eat, and is price more important than health, and all those things. So It was detailed. So then I emailed it back to them, to my old boss in New York, and they said, looks great, and we want to ask for $30,000. They said, we'll give you 45, and they didn't want any ownership. They just said, 10%, pay us back at 10% when you can. So I took the money and started the truck, June of 2010.
Now, but a truck, who even thinks of a truck? You must have had some inspiration for a specific truck.
So I was visiting a friend, I'll call him now.
Gotcha.
In Sacramento, and meeting him for lunch, I think on his lunch break, I think it was, and there was like this food truck, like, Roach Coach, like, but the food was fantastic. And I asked them to make me a veggie burrito, and they did. And I was like, wow, this is really great. And I wonder if there's any vegan food truck out there. So I Googled it, and there wasn't. And I was like, oh, this needs to exist. Like, how great would it be to like drive around Orange County, go to the beaches, feed surfers, veggie burritos as they're coming in out of the ocean. Like in my head, that's kind of like what I was doing, like half cooking, half like chilling at the beach.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So didn't exist yet. Don't know why. So then I couldn't get it out of my head. I needed to start it. So that's what I did.
Yeah. I remember the very first time I went to the Costa Mesa restaurant, and I was asking one of the servers the story behind Seabirds and why it was called Seabirds. I'd love for you to share that and how you came up with that name and like what it means to you. And
Sure. Yeah. It's funny because when I first started the truck, and probably even up until like a year or two ago, I would tell someone a different story every time. So a lot of people think that there's different stories out there, but
so now you're gonna tell us the real story.
I finally came clean with the opening of the South Coast Plaza location. I kind of came clean. So
took 3 restaurants for you to come clean.
But because it's not that great of a story, really, I don't think. I was trying to come up with a name, and I was, at the coffee shop doing a business plan by day, but in the afternoon I'd go to the beach because I wasn't working, and it was summertime, and you have to go to the beach in Orange County. Anyway, so driving to the beach, there's a street called Seabirds on the way to the beach from my dad's house. I think it's in Laguna Niguel. So I liked the name, and I just pictured like I would be on the truck with like girlfriends at the beach, and like, birds is kind of slang for girls. So that's why I liked it. I mean, I liked that it was short and sweet, and I just, love the ocean. So
it's a great name. It does
Stuck
evoke a wonderful
It does.
image.
It attracts you.
Did that dream of being on the beach and relaxing and at the same time feeding surfers, did that ever come true?
No, it didn't. Well, what I found out later as I was getting like my business licenses for where to park the truck is a lot of the beach cities only allow you to park for about 10 minutes at a time. So I couldn't, So I stuck to more like Irvine and Orange and Costa Mesa and things like that. I didn't have those laws.
Do you still have a food truck?
No. Thank God. It's so hard. It's so much work.
Did you take that and that was obviously the inspiration, I'm sure, for the first restaurant with the success. But did you close down the food truck and say, okay, we're going to invest everything in the first restaurant?
Well, we had very little to invest, so the food truck wasn't making a ton of money, although we were pretty popular. And after being on the Great Food Truck Race, I mean, it really exploded our sales. But, we got investors for the first location. But we kept the truck open for about a year after the first location before we decided to kind of call it quits. Mm-hmm. I did one of my last, I think the second to last stop I ever did was at Coachella. And as I was driving back, I was exhausted, and it was so hot. I was like in a dress. I was driving on the freeway, and the service doors flipped up while I was driving, and I felt like I was going to die, and I had to pull over safely. And like, it was so windy. I was like trying to get the doors down. My dress is flying up in the air. And at that moment, I just said, I'm done. This is it. Like, I've had too many close calls like that. Like the fryer used to catch on fire while we were driving on the freeway.
Oh,
like it would just combust.
Safe.
Yeah. I had a food processor fall on my head while I was driving. Like, my shoulders were always so tense when I was driving that like I said, it was a lot of work, and I was kind of happy to see it go. I look back at it now, and it seems a little romantic and fun because there were good times, and I had great great people working with me. But yeah, I'm happy it's gone.
This behind the scenes of food truck life.
Yeah,
I did not know any of that.
I wanted to ask you, is there anything you'd like to share with us and our audience about food trucks that you think we don't know that we should appreciate or anything? Because, yeah, it's I actually know food trucks because my friend Kate, I met her when I was doing a movie back in, I was 21, a long time ago. And she worked in the catering, and she got up at 3 a.m. to just chop and prepare. But I guess that happens at a restaurant too, right?
Yeah,
so
but what's different is when you leave for a stop, like, because every truck parks at a commissary, so it's like a home base pretty much for trucks to like plug in and empty their gray water and refill with fresh water and get some supplies. As soon as you leave that to go to, a festival or a bowling alley, wherever you're going, you're leaving all your supplies behind. So if you forget something, like, it's a big deal. Or if you don't have enough food, like, you run out. Whereas a restaurant, you can always go to the walk-in or prep more, or like have prep cooks on. With the truck, it's so small that's something I guess people don't think about. But yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of time spent in getting the word out of where you are, which took up a lot of time, and booking places, which I wanted to just not do anymore. I just wanted to have a spot where I could open the doors every day at the same location and have people know where I was.
You can't be at the same location every day. I would think that would be the best business plan.
You could.
Is that not a good?
Well, there's people that do that, but you don't want to turn down other great opportunities like Coachella or like health fairs, or like, for me, the reason I wanted the food truck really was to be able to turn on a lot of people to vegan lifestyle and vegan food. So me staying in the same spot every day, maybe I get, this one Irvine office building, but I wanted to be able to roam and like let people know, oh, you can be satisfied with a vegan meal, and look how great it can be, and look how fun it can be. And so for me, that wasn't an option.
So in 2011, your food truck was on Food Trucks or Food Networks, and it was called the Great Food Truck Race, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So definitely, I looked at some great pictures on the internet of the three of you rocking that. What was that experience like? And I know you guys made it about halfway through, which we'll talk about that. But how did you even get on? I mean, how did the opportunity come up, and what was it like being on that?
So yeah, we were the second season. So the first season was a big deal for us because, all of a sudden food trucks they were just emerging, right? Like, I was one of the first food trucks in Orange County. So when there was a show about it was a really big deal. And the winners of the show, every time we would see them around town, they were from LA, but their line was, around the block, like 200 people long. So the Food Network, I don't know, like execs or whatever, came to the truck yard where we park and just handed out flyers to everybody saying, if you want to get on the show, these are the steps, like submit a video and come in for an interview, basically. So of course, jumped on that right away, went to LA for a video interview, and we got selected. Yeah. It was cool.
And were you the only vegan food truck on that season?
We were, yeah. Okay. All-girl truck, the only all-girl truck and the only vegan truck. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I read, this is a quote, and I just think it is so reflective of how people, of what we talk about all the time on this show, people's kind of slow road to behavior change. You said, we may have been too slow, but our food rocked. That is true. And we felt that changing people's minds about their diets was more important. So you reasoned that you basically weren't willing to sacrifice, quality for speed or subpar ingredients to increase profits. But you realized that through every single piece of food and every meal that you were giving out, that you were changing people's hearts and minds, and really most importantly, getting them to ask themselves questions in their own hearts and minds and making them become curious. And that's what you do now. That's what we do now, right? Is just, and we have to be patient with people's process.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think probably a few stops in, we kind of realized, or at least I did, that we weren't going to win the competition.
Was it about speed? I haven't seen the show, so is it? Yeah. Did they give you crazy things to? Yeah,
there were challenges, but yeah, you had to be fast, but also you could. I don't know how to say this. You could like sell crappier food items and like get more people to your truck,
You mean junk food?
Yeah,
you could just,
exactly.
attract it. Yeah.
Okay.
Ice cream
Right.
or whatever.
And that's kind of what we weren't willing to do. And like say we, like when we were in Kansas, for example, like the word got out that we were vegan and like no one really wanted to come to our truck as much as the others. But we wanted to like just take, like you said, like make the most of that opportunity there in Kansas, where maybe like this small town of Manhattan was being introduced to vegan food for the very first time. So we were like just spending time with them and like using our barbecue jackfruit as like a gateway barbecue pulled pork sandwich for them. And I think we did maybe change a lot of people's minds. A lot of people were surprised by it. They were shocked. I remember like women being like, give me another one. I'm going to bring it to my husband and not tell him that it's jackfruit. And, so things
cool.
like that where, we kind of knew we weren't going to win. So we just went for like just,
Good for you.
yeah, being hardcore vegan,
Right.
introducing people. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Was the race itself who sold the most, the fastest?
Yeah. It's a sales
That was the-
competition.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
But that's tough because the different foods, I mean, if you're selling something that hardly needs any kind of time.
That's another thing. So a lot of the
Yeah.
trucks were going to Restaurant Depot and buying all their ingredients, where we were trying to track down like all of like our healthier alternatives at like health food stores. So you have a certain, like we spent most of our day like searching for our ingredients and like searching for jackfruit on the road. And, we used tons of avocados, where they're going in, sometimes buying like frozen chicken fingers or something at Restaurant Depot.
And
Oh
chopping
my gosh,
vegetables takes
right.
time.
Right, like
and-
we're making fried rice from scratch and all the, so
How was it finding
burgers.
jackfruit in Kansas? Seems like
little
challenging.
There was an Asian market there, and
Oh.
while we were driving from, I think it was Salt Lake or from Denver, I'd be on the phone with whoever I could, just saying, "Can you save me as much jackfruit as you can?" Then go to the next store. Do you have vegan oats or I don't know, whatever it was. I was just calling, trying to find. So it was to answer. I think your first question was, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Was that competition.
wow. Your whole trajectory from you have a degree in cultural anthropology, then you obviously went to finance, and then I didn't know this. I am floored that you just figured out how to cook. I mean, you didn't go to culinary school or anything. It is you guys have to go to this restaurant. Like you're not going to believe that this is possible, and you just, because of your passion and your interest and your desire to help change our entire food system. But you're now, I mean, you're a revered chef in the vegan food space.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of struggle with calling myself a chef, I guess, because, I haven't gone to all of like the schools and I haven't worked under great other chefs, but I have figured out a lot and I do the jobs of a chef. So, But
that brings us to the question. Most of our audience isn't going to open up a restaurant, but they do want to be better cooks. So what are some of the things that you can share with us about being a better cook? Maybe not just cooking for one, but cooking for 5 or 10 people. Do you have any or any
little hacks.
secrets?
Are you guys cooking for 5 or 10 people?
I'm never cooking for anybody.
We just
okay.
go 2 in our house.
But if someone's having a holiday, Thanksgiving, or some people get nervous about the timing and how to do that. And you have to do that a lot in the restaurant.
Do as much as you can ahead of time. Like, don't do anything a la menu, really. So just have things, have maybe a few dishes that can be.
Was that a culinary term I just heard?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the French
minutes?
term.
Can you
like to order, like
okay.
I guess it means on the minute.
Right.
So if you can have like a few dishes that can be okay at room temperature, or even cold, and then maybe one thing that you're like taking out of the oven, maybe like a lasagna, like, make it easy on yourself. Don't be prepping while your family and friends are over. Try to do everything ahead of time, or stuff that'll like be okay sitting.
Yeah. And you also don't use the typical meat alternatives. You use a lot of jackfruit. Can you explain? You mentioned jackfruit earlier, but especially people who aren't vegan aren't familiar with
even
jackfruit.
your Beets Me burger. I mean, everything at Seabirds is house made, homemade, in right there on premises, and so it's not Beyond Burgers are great, but they're not there. No Impossible Burgers. Like you got to do it all yourself.
Yeah, we're a scratch-made kitchen. So we make our veggie burgers by scratch, and we make like meatballs by scratch, and we don't use processed soy, like those wheat alternative meats. We stay away from all of those, and that's mainly because that's how I want to eat. How I wish there'd be more options like that out there. Like you said, Beyond Burgers serve a purpose, and yeah, I eat those too, but I can't, really eat those all the time. And our burger is made like beets, chia, shiitake, flax, bulgur wheat. So when you eat it, you're energized, and you don't want to take a nap. So with Jackfruit too is great because it's not processed, besides being broken down.
What is it?
It's a very large tree fruit from like Southeast Asia. A lot of it comes from Thailand, and it is, we get it when it's green, so it's not sweet and ripe yet. When it's ripe, it's bright yellow and it tastes like juicy fruit bubblegum. When it's green, it's kind of looks like a pineapple on the inside where it's like fibrous, and it tastes like nothing. But the fibrous is like what we're after. So we can shred it and manipulate it, or not manipulate it, but marinate it.
Right.
Or,
That's manipulating.
Yeah, I guess it is. And make it taste, like right now we have a Korean style, but I've done every single flavor of jackfruit you can imagine on the food truck, barbecue and shawarma and jerk and, everything. So
the flavor is just, I can't, it's my favorite in the whole wide world, anywhere on the planet. Anything you can get from grocery store, any other restaurant I've ever been to. Can you give any secrets as to like what's in it? I mean, you probably don't want to give
the Korean style way.
Right, that's what's on bibimbap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could just eat a mound of it every day. So delicious.
Yeah, we use lots of fresh ingredients, lots of fresh ginger and garlic and green onions. So I think that really comes through in it. We try to use a lot of aromatics. When people come in with like garlic and onion allergies, or for religious reasons they're not eating it, I feel so bad for them because, how do I get my flavor if I can't use the onions and the garlic? So, yeah.
Are there some religions that don't allow garlic and onions?
Yeah, Jainism.
Mm-hmm. Oh, why is that? Do you know? Because it's not Jainism is the nonviolent religion that practices ahimsa, which is its foremost tenet, which is basically nonviolence to all living creatures.
I believe, maybe don't quote me on this, but I believe it has something to do with that. It can like self-generate, right? Like if you like replant a green onion butt in the ground, it'll regrow. So they stay away from items like that. Is what I've been heard. I haven't really.
I'll look it up. I'll put it in the show notes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other veggies and even veggies like that are, what are they, in ground ones versus a top, like root one. Thank you. Because I wonder if that has something to do with it. We gotta look that up. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So you started this whole journey wanting to be healthier, and now your restaurants provide a lot of healthy food. What do you eat in a day? Can you talk to us about your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, if you snack?
Sure. Well, I don't eat breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Intermittent faster.
Yeah, I actually like it. I prefer it. I like to kind of let my whole system not deplete itself, but just fasting. Yeah, rest.
Like
and I'm never hungry in the morning, so I don't really force myself to eat. In the morning, I usually drink like a mushroom tea, cordyceps and mycelium, with like a little bit of oat creamer. And then for lunch, anything, I'll try to eat a salad every day. That's kind of my goal. But sometimes, that doesn't happen. I'll eat a lot of misfires at the restaurant. I don't like to waste food. So if something's like made like by mistake, like I'll usually eat that. Or I love like our Chinese shiitake salad. I love our mushroom tacos. I love mushrooms, like put that on everything, and lots of avocado. For dinner, I usually cook at home for me and my husband and my 2-year-old. And I try to keep that simple too, like a lot of tofu and broccoli and rice, sweet potatoes, or like curry on sweet potatoes with tofu. That's like my favorite right now. But yeah, simple and stuff that's not going to make me feel like too heavy. So I don't want to wake up feeling tired or sluggish.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're raising a 2-year-old.
I am.
Vegan.
I wish she was vegan. My daycare just found out today I'm switching her schools, but one of the reasons was I wanted to be able to pack her lunch. The school she's at now doesn't really cater to vegan at all, and opening a restaurant, and I just we had to make a sacrifice there, and just she's eating way more dairy than I would like. So yeah, she'll start a new school in a couple weeks where we can pack her lunch, and then she'll get more on the vegan train.
Yeah, she eats that way at home, but you didn't have a lot of control or no control for where she was eating her lunches.
Yeah,
what was it?
Right.
So your success as a chef, you're a chef. We're gonna just say that, okay?
Okay.
You are a chef.
All right.
And a restaurateur.
I think after her 3 restaurants and a 4th one in the works, and a food truck, I think you've earned it. Who cares about the degree from
when you taste the
culinary
food,
school?
it's like that's the case. But opening these 3 very successful locations in under 7 years it's a massive accomplishment. There's so many people that would love to be in your shoes. Very highly trained chefs that would love to be in your shoes and do what you're doing. What do you attribute to your success? What does it take?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think very few people, I think a lot of people want it, like you said, but very few people have what it takes. It can be extremely stressful. You don't leave your work at home. It can creep into your personal life. When my husband and I were dating, we probably broke up like 5 times,
When were you guys dating? In the very beginning when you opened the first restaurant or the food
truck?
truck?
For the food truck.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we met, is I reached out to him. Or I had known him, but we started dating because I reached out to him to design the truck, like the wrap. And he said, "Are you starting a vegan food truck? Because I'm in." And so he quit his job and helped me. But anyways, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to run restaurants, and you feel like your employees are children, and the restaurant is a child in itself, and so it's hard not to take things super like personally and to just kind of brush things off, like everything's dire, right? Like it feels like every the pipe bursts and we have to close for lunch, and like, oh my gosh, like it's hard, right? Like the guests are going to be upset. There's people coming, and then the staff have to send home, and that's their wage for the day. Yeah. And so every little bit, falls back on you. So that's tough.
But yet you decide to open a 4th restaurant.
Oh, yes. Somehow.
Just keeping after it.
Yeah, I think, one of the greatest feelings at this point in my career is being able to give others opportunities. So developing my team and then moving them up and creating like new restaurants for like them to kind of manage and take over is a good feeling, although it's quite stressful. But
yeah, what have you learned about leadership? Because that's what you're in.
Oh man,
no doubt.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as a coach, I guess. I think you really have to be able to do what you're saying. I think the people that trust me the most are the people that have been with me a really long time, and they've seen me do every position, jump in, getting my hands dirty, washing dishes if the dishwasher calls out, hopping on the line, running food, doing it all, where like I've earned their respect, I think, where I don't think a lot of owners do that. There's a lot of absentee owners, or chefs that don't want to get involved in the front of the house. I know every position. I know what's going on financially. I know I know everything. So I think I've earned people's respect. So if I ask them to do things, they'll do it. Mm-hmm. If I need something, they'll help me out.
Willing to be in the trenches with your people and not just kind of up here, hovering, saying that, and I'm going to go shopping now.
Well, right. And I do feel weird having to do that now. Like, hey, can you clean that window? But you have to.
So it needs to be clean.
I wanted to ask about ingredients. A lot of people, I saw you in an interview where you talked about beer and that not all beer is vegan. And people also don't know that not all wine is vegan. And there's that chocolate glaze. There's that glaze around chocolates that you can see. It makes it kind of shiny, which I learned just a few years ago after 10 years of being vegan, or I'm 10 years now, that is not vegan.
What is it?
that glaze comes from the beetle. It's, I think either it's the beetle, and I'm not sure if it's an excretion of the beetle, I think it is, or if it's the beetle wings that are mushed up. But maybe you know a little bit more, because I heard you talk about beer and why beer sometimes isn't vegan.
Yeah, the red, I forget the name of the beetle myself, but it was used for like red food coloring a lot too, like the strawberry. I guess Starbucks had some kind of strawberry milkshake or something that used the beetle, and so since I think vegans have protested and we've gotten it out, and now it's not the beetle anymore, but
the beetle's alone.
But yeah, it's funny, things that you think are automatically vegan aren't always, like sugar, for example, and the bone char that they use to make sugar. But yeah, beer and
to
wine.
make sugar white, right? It runs it over. So, but even the brown sugar, it could still have been run over bone char, because they whiten it and then they put brown food coloring or molasses or something on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to be aware of that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, wine too, the way it's filtered, basically. Sometimes they use fish bladder.
Why a fish bladder?
It clarifies it, I believe. I'm not a big winemaker myself, but yeah, so.
Same with beer. Is that right?
Yeah, isonoglass, right, is what it's called. So if you see that ingredient, that's not vegan.
What is it?
Isonoglass.
Okay. Okay, good. And that's in alcohol.
Sometimes, not always.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can. So barnivore.com is a great resource.
I use that.
Yeah, to check and see if things are vegan. Beer or wine is vegan. But yeah, like pushing back really on our vendors, because a lot of people drop off wine samples for us, and this is organic and this is biodynamic.
Right.
Is it vegan? Well, I don't know. Well, you need to know, because I can't sell it if it's not. So yeah, opening people's eyes to that too.
Exactly. What have been some of your most exciting comments that you've gotten from the South Coast location that's the newest, and probably just in a place where the most international audience is, right? I mean, you go into South Coast and it's every color, shape, and size from all over the world shopping in that mall. What are some of the comments that you've gotten from maybe people that, are not vegan and said and sat down and had a meal, and maybe they didn't even know, right? And maybe they probably didn't know that it was a vegan place when they sat down.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, because right now we don't have anything really saying that up front. But yeah, one of the best compliments is when it was a couple that was coming in. They ate lunch, and then a couple times, and then they came back for brunch, and they didn't. It wasn't until they saw our brunch menu that they realized there's no eggs, and like, what's going on? And we're a vegan restaurant. We don't have eggs. Oh, I had no idea. And I've eaten here a few times. And I'm like, yes, like that's the biggest compliment, right? Like if you don't know. And there was a table yesterday of 4 ladies that were like, you can't even tell it's vegan. And it's not like the regular kind of vegan, it's like, it's a good vegan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
good vegan.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm like, thank you. That's like really the highest compliment you could give me, because that's the point,
That's
So
your new
do you-
tagline. Seabirds, the good vegan restaurant.
The next question would have been, so did you try any other vegan restaurants? Or, because I don't know if those women probably haven't had a lot of I want to defend other vegan restaurants.
Right.
I
It's vegan food. Like,
yeah, I
right.
think it just gets a bad,
It does.
It does. It gets a bad rep, and like, thinking about sprouts and carrots, and it doesn't have to be all that, so.
Just that, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you, on the great food truck race, you didn't promote yourself as vegan either? Is that correct?
No, yeah.
And so how do you promote?
But the word got
Do you say
out.
plant-based, or do you just say excellent food?
So on the food truck, we didn't have it listed anywhere. In June 2010, there was not, it wasn't as popular as it is now, veganism at least. And so we kind of kept it hush hush. And it was like the beer battered avocado taco that really like rang people in, right? It was kind of like our like
Signature
foot in the
dish.
door. Yeah, like where people would look at our menu and they would see that and they'd all stop and want to try it. And they didn't put it together that it was vegan, because everyone loves avocado, right? And especially in Orange County. But yeah, we didn't promote it, and some people would ask about it, and we would be honest with them, of course, and answer any questions they might have. But yeah, we weren't promoting it. We were just trying, or me more or less, I was just trying to let the food speak for itself and let the food change people's minds. And if they didn't know right away and then they found out later, like even better, so.
And how do you
approach.
promote it? How do you promote the restaurant plant-based, or do you just say?
I'm way more comfortable saying vegan now than I was before. Yeah, I would say plant-based quite a bit. I think plant-based is more approachable still because there's people that are like moving towards plant-based, but not 100%, right? Like they're like, I'm trying to eat plant-based, but I'm not vegan. So it's more like a crossover term, I think. So I use both right now, but
I think what you're doing with Seabirds is definitely one of the strongest forms of activism, if not the strongest form, because at the end of the day, people have to have the food and
It's about the
know
food.
how to get the food. It's always about the food. What are your dreams for the future of Seabirds and taking over the world and making us all vegan?
I don't know how to answer that. My dreams for the future. Well, right now, the biggest thing on my to-do list right now is to get our LA location open. So that's Los Feliz. And after that, I feel like I have to just maybe relax a little bit and then see what other opportunities come our way. But people reach out all the time saying open in San Diego, open in San Francisco, open in Kentucky. And I would love to do that, but I'm also like...
That was Dottie who reached out about Kentucky. You didn't know it. She used
Undercover on that one.
Yeah, but like opening them it's such hard work and it takes so much that I don't think it'll be a huge empire, at least not with me like the way I'm doing it now, being able to be so hands-on and creating dishes and touching tables and touching employees. So right now 4, and then maybe just chill for a little bit and see what's next.
I think that sounds like a nice idea. What's your favorite thing to do when you're at the restaurant? Is it with customers? Is it with your employees? Is it back in the kitchen? Like, what's just what just really lights your fire? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I love being on the grill. That's my favorite. That's my favorite spot because that's where you get to cook. You can get in like a state of flow and just cook. I mean, I hardly get to do that anymore. So yeah, that's my favorite spot.
You also wrote an e-cookbook that people can they find it on the internet?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because you've been
that was
so
in the
busy
food truck
with
days,
restaurants.
right? Did you write it somewhere?
In the food truck days. It's a pretty simple cookbook. It featured a lot of the dishes that we were doing at the time, a lot of seasonal food, and yeah, I think it's like different salads, probably a lot of kale salads. I was doing a lot of kale salads back then, rice dishes. Jackfruit maybe in there.
Nice.
Good. Jackfruit. Yeah, I think probably our audience is interested in cooking with jackfruit after hearing this interview. So
it is crazy to see jackfruit and where it's come, because when I first started using it, nobody knew what it was. I had to put a sign up on the food truck saying, I said, what is jackfruit? And then I listed what it was. And then I gave people samples all day long. No one knew what it was. I had only seen it one time, like 2 years before at a restaurant in LA that had gone out of business. And when I was trying to start the truck and I had 2 tacos, I needed a third taco and I wanted it to be like shredded beef. And I'm trying to figure out what to use, like mushrooms or what. And I remembered this jackfruit, and so I tried it and I didn't like the way it came out. I tried again, I didn't like the way it came out. I only saw one blog about it, like cooking it in a crock pot.
Oh.
No, don't do that. It's
okay,
terrible.
I was like, this sounds easy.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'll do
overnight jackfruit. No, don't do it. I was mushy, and so I kind of gave up on it. And then it was my, now husband who said, keep trying. Maybe if we do this, maybe we do that. And we finally figured out a better way to do it. And since then, it's evolved quite a bit. But now jackfruit is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's at Trader Joe's. Every vegan restaurant has it. It's crazy to me. Yeah.
Are you thinking at all about doing a print cookbook? Maybe in your relaxing period of time after this 4th restaurant?
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that like I feel like so much is already out there. Like what could I possibly say that's more? But then people all the time ask me things that I'm like, you don't know that, so maybe I do have things to say or info to share, hot tips.
And it's so inspiring. It's like the not chef who became a world famous chef.
Where are the animals in this? Is that something that has motivated you, or are you motivated mostly by the health aspects and the environmental aspects?
It's really hard for me to rank it. Like for me, when I think of a plant-based lifestyle, it covers everything. Like everybody wins: the plants, the planet, your own personal health. So it's all intertwined. But I definitely didn't start it with that in mind. It wasn't until I really learned about the industry that I decided I didn't want to be a part of it. And but yeah, I mean, now I couldn't even imagine, eating an animal again, and all the things that we do, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing to bring up. I think one of the biggest reasons why I haven't pushed like animal rights or anything is because it's so political and people get so offended that I've just kind of like left that aside, where, some businesses use that as the forefront and maybe they get people to follow that way. But I didn't want it to be so polarizing, like if people felt bad about coming in if they did eat meat.
Yeah, so. I think you've found your niche, and that's really important. Like Dotsie said, we reach people different ways, and you've reached them through their stomachs in such a wonderful way, satisfying way that that's very effective.
Yeah. Have you been?
I have not.
All right, we're gonna go.
There's an LA location opening up, and I'll take you. I'll take you to.
Okay.
Come on.
One day when we leave here, we'll just go for a date because it's like on your way home.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So, thank you so
This
much
was
for being on
awesome.
our show.
Oh,
really.
thank you for having me. You guys are awesome.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.